gloomy headlines about electric vehicles they're everywhere, and they are unrelenting. From Business Insider, auto industry pulls back on EVs as consumers hesitate over high price, inconvenience. From Bloomberg, Canada can't meet goal of 100% EV sales by 2035, automakers say. From CNBC, EV euphoria is dead. Automakers are scaling back or delaying their electric vehicle plans. So why are automakers backtracking on their once ambitious EV game plans? I mean, Mercedes-Benz once planned for EVs to make up 100% of global sales by 2030. Now, the goal is 50% and maybe dropping. Legacy automakers like Volkswagen and Stellantis will almost certainly not hit their 2030 EV goals, reports Bloomberg NEF. General Motors has walked back its goal of 1 million units of EV manufacturing by 2025. All the available evidence says that for everyone but Tesla and BYD of China, there's no money in EVs, at least not now, and certainly not for legacy automakers. I mean, Ford has walked back its goal of selling only EVs in Europe by 2030. And irony of ironies, Ford is shelving plans to make EVs at its Oakville, Ontario plant, and instead will produce in that same plant profitable, gas-guzzling heavy-duty pickups. Yes, Tesla makes money, but is discounting like never before. China's BYD apparently earns a profit too, but for every Tesla and BYD, there is a bankrupt startup maker like Fisker and Lordstown. But let's not get carried away. The EV transition is indeed underway. It's just having a bit of range anxiety at the minute. The reality is that EV sales have plateaued. They haven't tanked. And sales of gas-electric hybrids are soaring. Zero-emissions vehicles account for about 13% of new vehicle sales in Canada. Some 2.5 million Americans bought an EV or hybrid last year. And global sales are rising. They're just not soaring like a SpaceX rocket. And some EV pioneers like Polestar, a money-losing niche spin-off from Volvo and its parent, Geely of China, are pushing ahead with new models, new plants, and the conviction that there is a future for mass-market electric vehicles. But of course, it all starts in the luxury segment. Never mind that Polestar is a penny stock that was reportedly almost delisted on the NASDAQ exchange as it became independent from Volvo and Geely. Yes, Polestar recorded an operating loss of $1.46 billion in 2023. Company officials brush aside those concerns. They instead point to Polestar's future, a future that includes the brand new Polestar 3 SUV. I love the look of this SUV, and it drives even better than the clean, sleek, minimalist Scandinavian design suggests. The Polestar 3 is now being delivered in small numbers at a base price of $92,300 in Canada. The Polestar 3 is a luxury offering aimed at fashion-conscious buyers who see Tesla as yesterday's EV brand. Also hurting Tesla is its weirdo of a CEO. I think Tesla, with its dated lineup and distracted CEO, is vulnerable. Which brings me to Polestar. The Polestar 3 is a dynamic, delightful, smallish SUV with an understated yet effective design. The stance here is wide and powerful. The dual-blade headlights are eye-catching. But take in the design details, the subtle nods to aerodynamic efficiency. The front aero wing integrated into the bonnet, and here, an aero wing integrated into the rear spoiler. On the heels of the Polestar 3 will come the all-new Polestar 4, with deliveries expected later this year. Two new models from this upstart in the same calendar year? The only thing new we've seen from Tesla lately is this Cybertruck abomination. Polestar company officials insist is in the EV game for the long haul. And in recent weeks, the stock has soared on news of the Polestar 3 and 4, current owners and those thinking about a new Polestar want to know if Polestar will be around next year at this time. The Polestar folks say they have the financial firepower and product plan to become a serious global EV maker. A new factory has opened in South Carolina, which allows Polestar to avoid tariffs on EVs imported from China. I do like the Polestar cars regardless of the corporate story. I just spent a riotous day testing the Polestar 3 on a racetrack just outside of Victoria, British Columbia. It's called the Vancouver Island Motorsport Circuit, a tight, twisty course with 19 corners over 2.3 kilometers. Its discombobulating elevation changes are all over the place. This is a superb test of both car and driver. I also gained a feel for the Polestar 3 across some very crazy terrain. The battery pack in the floor is the secret to a rigid chassis. A chassis which allowed the engineers to tune for robust challenges like this, and this, and this, and tight, responsive, predictable handling on a driving circuit that will wear you out with its unrelenting demands. The car is a standout. The dual electric motors, front and rear, send power where it's needed, and the total output is 489 horsepower and 620 pound-feet of torque. It's a beast, with a 0 to 100 kilometer time coming in at about 4.7 seconds with the performance pack. Fast, composed, precise through the corners, and the so-called blended braking uses both electric motors and friction brakes to slow down. I love the way this car behaves. Shockingly fast, yet predictable, and confidence-inspiring. Range, best possible case, about 500 kilometers. The cabin, meanwhile, is a perfect expression of the classic Nordic design aesthetic, functional and beautiful in its simplicity and lack of clutter. The unnecessary or superfluous, all stripped away. This means all the car's functions are run through the screen, which at times makes simple things like seat adjustments a somewhat tiresome journey through various layers on the single but very large screen. Polestar isn't shy about technology. In fact, it's central to the brand's positioning in the marketplace. The Polestar 3 has, we're told, 5 radar modules, 5 external cameras, and 12 external ultrasonic sensors in support of various advanced safety features. It's got NVIDIA's Drive Core computer as its so-called AI brain to manage the data. Honestly, who doesn't like an underdog story, a David and Goliath tale of pluck and luck? Right now, as we look across an EV landscape littered with the casualties born of optimism and hype, Polestar has the look of a plucky survivor with promise. The Polestar 3 is better than expected. So, what are we going to be able to say about the Polestar 4? Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. I'm Jeremy Cato, and this is CatoCarGuy.com. We'll see you next time.